Every holiday, my husband's parent took over our plans, saying, "You'll celebrate with us or not at all." My husband sighed and said, "Just go along with it." I smiled and replied, "Sure, but first, let's watch this video together." As the screen lit up, their expression changed from smug to pure panic. For the first few years of our marriage, my in-laws controlled every single holiday. Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, hell, even the 4th of July. Every time a holiday approached, I'd hold my breath, waiting for the inevitable phone call from my mother-in-law, Carol. And it always came. Carol never asked what our plans were. She never cared. She told us where we'd be, what time we needed to arrive, and sometimes even what we should bring. It was always the same: "You'll celebrate with us or not at all." If I ever tried to suggest something different, she'd act like I was insane. "Why would you do that when we already planned everything?" she'd say with a smile, like she was being reasonable. The first year, I thought it was a fluke. The second year, I realized it was a pattern. By the third year, I was getting frustrated. By the fourth, I was furious. But the worst part? My husband, Ethan, never backed me up. Whenever I brought it up, he'd sigh and say, "Just go along with it. It's not worth the fight. Not worth the fight. Not worth my family missing out on holidays with me. Not worth me feeling like a guest in my own life. Not worth the years of being treated like my side of the family didn't exist." I played along for too long. But last Thanksgiving, I hit my limit. And I got revenge. A few weeks before Thanksgiving, Carol called me. I already knew what was coming. "I've planned the entire menu," she said, cheerful as ever. "I know how much you love bringing a dish, so I'll let you bring the rolls." I almost laughed out loud. She was letting me bring the rolls. Not even homemade ones. Store-bought. As if I was some distant acquaintance, barely worthy of contributing to the meal. I took a deep breath. "Actually, Ethan and I were thinking of doing Thanksgiving on our own this year." Silence. Then, laughter. "Oh, sweetheart," Carol said, her voice dripping with condescension. "Don't be silly. You're coming here." I glanced at Ethan, hoping for some kind of support. But he was already rubbing his temples, sighing like this was all so exhausting for him. "Babe, just go along with it," he muttered. That was it. That was the moment something inside me snapped. I smiled. "Sure," I said sweetly. "But first, let's watch this video together." A week before Thanksgiving, I invited Carol and Greg, my father-in-law, over for dinner. They showed up, all smiles, thinking I had given in. They sat down, expecting a nice evening. Instead, I turned on the TV. The screen lit up. It was a video compilation, one I had been collecting for years. It started off simple. Little clips of Carol being her usual, controlling self. Her snapping at me over the way I cooked mashed potatoes. Greg mumbling that wives should be seen and not heard. Yes, he actually said that. Then, things escalated. Carol snooping through our bedroom last Christmas. The security camera caught her digging through my jewelry box and opening my nightstand drawers. Greg making racist comments about my cousin at Easter dinner, which he later denied ever saying. Carol mocking Ethan behind his back, calling him spineless for letting me have an opinion. The grand finale, a recording from my car dashcam. The night before my wedding, Carol had no idea my car recorded audio. But the camera caught her saying, "I give it 6 months. He'll divorce her and find a proper wife." Silence. Pure, dead silence. Carol's face drained of color. Greg's mouth actually fell open. Ethan looked like he had just been slapped. Carol was the first to break. Where did you get this?" she stammered. I shrugged. "You know me. Always prepared." Ethan turned to me, his mouth moving like he wanted to speak, but couldn't find the words. "Why didn't you show me this before?" he finally asked. I tilted my head. "Would you have believed me?" He didn't answer. Carol scrambled for damage control. "You have to delete that." I smiled. "Oh, Carol. Sweetheart. Don't be silly. I've already backed it up." Panic. Pure, delicious panic. Greg turned to Ethan. "Son, you need to handle this." Ethan was still staring at the screen, eyes wide. It was like he had just now realized his parents weren't the perfect, innocent people he always defended. Carol tried again. "You wouldn't do anything rash with that video, would you?" I leaned in. "Of course not," I said, still smiling. "But Ethan and I will be spending the holidays however we want from now on. And if you try to guilt trip us or threaten us or God forbid snoop through our things again," I picked up my phone. "I might feel generous and send this to the entire family group chat." Carol's face twisted into something between rage and fear. Greg just looked defeated. They left without another word. Ethan sat in silence for a long time. Finally, he exhaled. "Holy sh**T. I shrugged. "Now do you see why I was upset?" He nodded slowly. "Yeah, I think I do." For the first time in our marriage, Ethan actually stood up to them. For the first time, I felt free. But this wasn't over yet. Because Carol? She wasn't the type to back down without a fight. Carol and Greg left that night without another word, but I knew that wasn't the end of it. Carol wasn't the type to take a hit and walk away. I expected the calls to start the next morning. But they didn't. A full day passed. Then 2. Then 5. Nothing. At first, I thought maybe, just maybe, they had accepted defeat. Maybe they realized they had overplayed their hand, that they had lost control. I should have known better. Because on the 6th day, Ethan's phone buzzed in the middle of the night. Then again. And again. At first, he ignored it, groggy and half asleep. But then, the buzzing didn't stop. It was continuous. A deep, sinking feeling settled in my stomach. I rolled over, watching as Ethan sat up and grabbed his phone. His eyes adjusted to the brightness of the screen, and the second he saw whatever was there, his face twisted. What the hell? I sat up. What is it? He didn't answer right away. Just stared at his screen, scrolling. I reached over and snatched the phone from his hands. And there it was. The group chat was on fire. Messages were flying in from aunts, uncles, cousins. Did you see what Carol posted? OMG, Ethan. WTF is going on? Is this true? You should be ashamed. Confused, I scrolled up. And my blood ran cold. There, pinned at the top of the group chat, was a long, dramatic Facebook post from Carol. A masterpiece of manipulation. The post started off innocent. Family is everything to me. I've always done my best to bring everyone together, to make the holidays special, to create lasting memories. Then, the turn. But sometimes, people change. Sometimes, they let the wrong influences into their lives. Sometimes, they become cruel. And then the full-on attack. My son has been taken from me. Brainwashed. Controlled. He's turned against his own blood, and I am devastated. Heartbroken. Betrayed. She went on, talking about how I had poisoned Ethan against her, how I was a master manipulator who had been plotting this from the beginning. And then, the final dagger. A real mother never stops fighting for her child. I will always love my son, even if he's lost to me now. But I pray that one day, he sees the truth before it's too late. The comments were flooded with sympathy. I'm so sorry, Carol. You don't deserve this. Stay strong. He'll come back to you. Some people just want to destroy families. The worst part? Some of Ethan's own relatives were eating it up. Not all of them, but enough. I scrolled through, disgusted, and spotted messages from his Aunt Margaret, his cousin Josh, even his own brother, Ryan. His own brother. You guys are really doing this? Cutting off your own parents? Over what? They love you, man. You need to think about this. I clenched my fists. She's flipping the script, I muttered. Making herself the victim. Ethan's face was pale. He looked like someone had just punched him in the gut. I don't understand, he whispered. I did. Carol had lost control of Ethan in private. So now, she was trying to control him in public. And the worst part? It was working. I put Ethan's phone down and grabbed my own. In situations like this, I had learned silence was a weapon. If I started defending myself, if I wrote some long post trying to explain my side, it would just validate what Carol was saying. So I did nothing. But Ethan? He couldn't ignore it. That morning, he called his mom. She answered on the first ring, fake tears already in her voice. Ethan, sweetheart, I knew you'd come around. I knew you'd realize how much you're hurting this family. Ethan took a shaky breath. Mom, take the post down. Silence. Then, a sharp little laugh. Oh, honey, why would I do that? Ethan's grip tightened on the phone. Because it's a lie. She gasped, actually gasped, like he had just slapped her. A lie? Ethan, I have done nothing but love you. And what do I get in return? Humiliation? Betrayal? Ethan pinched the bridge of his nose. Mom, you went through our bedroom. You called my wife controlling. You said you hoped I'd divorce her. Carol sniffled dramatically. Oh, so she's feeding you lines now? I know how this works. First, she isolates you. Then, she makes you doubt your own mother. Ethan's jaw clenched. I saw the videos, Mom. With my own eyes. Carol went quiet. And then, her voice changed. The fake sobs vanished. She dropped all pretense. Her voice turned cold. Well, if that's how you feel, she said, voice clipped, then I guess we'll see you at Christmas. Or not at all. And she hung up. Ethan stared at the phone like it had grown teeth. Then, he exhaled. Holy sh*T. I crossed my arms. Now do you see what I've been dealing with? He nodded. Slowly. For the first time, I saw real anger in his eyes. Not frustration. Not helplessness. Anger. She's not getting away with this, he muttered. And for the first time in our marriage, I believed him. After Carol's dramatic post, Ethan's phone didn't stop buzzing. Messages poured in, family members demanding explanations, some defending his mom, others just looking for drama. At first, Ethan tried responding. This isn't what you think. You don't know the full story. There are things you haven't seen. Mom isn't the victim here. But it didn't matter. People wanted to believe the lie. And the worst part? Carol knew it. She had spent years shaping her image, the perfect mother, the devoted matriarch who only wanted the best for her son. Now, she was doubling down. A few days later, Ethan's brother, Ryan, called. Look, man, Ryan said, voice tight. I don't know what's going on, but Mom's a mess. She hasn't eaten in days. She cries all the time. She says you won't even talk to her. Ethan rubbed his face. Ryan, she's playing you. She's fine. You don't know that, Ryan shot back. She's lost weight. She's not sleeping. Dad says she just sits in the dark, waiting for you to come to your senses. I almost laughed. Carol? Sitting in the dark? Dramatic as hell. Ethan wasn't convinced either. If she's suffering so much, he asked, why is she still posting on Facebook? Ryan hesitated. She's just trying to explain her side. Ethan let out a bitter laugh. Her side is a bunch of lies, he snapped. Did she tell you she went through our bedroom? Did she tell you she called my wife controlling? Did she tell you she said she hoped I'd get divorced? Ryan went quiet. Then, no. Of course not. Because Carol only told the version that made her look good. She's your mother, Ethan, Ryan said finally. Are you really going to throw her away over this? Ethan's face hardened. I'm not throwing her away, he said. She's the one giving me a choice, her way or nothing. Ryan didn't answer. Just sighed and muttered, think about it, man. Then he hung up. Ethan stared at his phone. Then, slowly, he turned to me. I think she's planning something. I crossed my arms. She always is. But neither of us were prepared for what she did next. A week later, Ethan was at work when someone knocked on our door. I was home alone. I checked the peephole. And my stomach dropped. It was the police. For a split second, I panicked. Had something happened to Ethan? An accident? Was he hurt? I yanked the door open. Ma'am, one of the officers said. We got a call about a possible domestic disturbance at this residence. I blinked. What? The second officer glanced at his notes. The caller reported concerns about a woman in distress. Possible emotional abuse. My blood went ice cold. Carol. It had to be Carol. I forced myself to stay calm. I think there's been a mistake. The officers exchanged looks. We still have to check, one of them said. Would you mind stepping outside? I did. One officer stayed with me while the other peeked inside. Is your husband home? No, I said tightly. Are you okay? I let out a humorless laugh. I'm perfectly fine. The officer gave me a long look. Then, he nodded. All right. Sorry for the trouble. We had to follow up. They left. And the second the door shut, I grabbed my phone. I called Ethan. The second he answered, I said, your mother just sent the cops to our house. Silence. Then, very quietly, Ethan said, tell me everything. Ethan was furious. Not just annoyed. Furious. He had been trying to handle things peacefully. He had been trying to keep some sort of relationship with his mom, despite everything. But this? This was war. Ethan called his mom that night. She didn't answer. So he texted her. Did you call the police on my wife? Read at 9:42 p.m. No response. He waited an hour. Then, he called again. This time, she picked up. Oh, sweetheart, she sighed. I was just about to call you. Did you send the cops to our house? Ethan cut in. Silence. Then, she gasped. Actually gasped. Oh my God, is that what they told you? No, honey, I would never do that. But, I mean, I did mention to a friend that I was worried about you, and maybe she called, but I had no idea. Ethan hung up. No yelling. No arguing. Just hung up. Then, he turned to me. She's done. For the first time, he cut her off. Blocked her number. Blocked her on Facebook. Told his family everything. Carol tried everything to get him back. Called from different numbers. Had Greg text, your mother is sick with worry. Had Ryan send a long message, she's still your mom, man. Ethan didn't budge. Then, Carol did the one thing she had left. She showed up. At Ethan's office. In tears. Security had to escort her out. That night, she left him a voicemail. Through sobs, she whispered, I hope you're happy, Ethan. You broke your mother's heart. I don't even know if I'll be here next Christmas. I hope you can live with yourself. When Ethan played it for me, I waited for him to react. For him to sigh. To look guilty. Instead, he just shook his head. She's never going to stop, he muttered. I put my hand on his. So what do we do now? Ethan thought for a moment. Then, he looked up at me. And he said something I never thought I'd hear. We end this. Carol had made her move. She had lied. She had manipulated. She had turned family against us. She had even sent the police to my door. And when that didn't work, she showed up at Ethan's office. It was clear she wasn't going to stop. Not unless we made her stop. So Ethan made a choice. He called a family meeting. It was time to end this. Ethan sent out a message in the family group chat, "We need to talk. Everyone. No more side conversations. No more rumors. This ends now. Meet at our house this Saturday." Carol saw it. She didn't respond. But I knew she would come. She wouldn't miss an opportunity to turn the narrative back in her favor. By Saturday, the tension in our house was thick. Ethan barely spoke that morning. I could see it in his face, he was dreading this. But underneath, I saw something else. Determination. He was done being controlled. At exactly 3 p.m., they arrived. Carol, Greg, Ryan, a few cousins, some aunts and uncles. Carol walked in last, like a queen entering her throne room. Her eyes scanned the room, her lips pressed into a tight little smile. She looked confident, like she still thought she could win. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. No one sat down. The room was too charged, too tense. Ethan stood in the middle of it all, his arms crossed. Carol sighed dramatically. "Ethan, honey, is this really necessary? This family has been through enough." Ethan's jaw clenched. "Yeah, Mom. It is." She put a hand to her chest. "I just want to fix things. I've been sick with worry. I haven't eaten, I haven't slept." Ethan cut her off. "Then why did you send the police to our house?" The room went silent. All eyes turned to Carol. She blinked, her lips parting in fake surprise. "What? Police?" "Ethan, I would never stop lying." Ethan's voice was sharp. Carol flinched. For the first time, she looked nervous. Greg shifted uncomfortably. Ryan cleared his throat, avoiding eye contact. But Ethan wasn't finished.